I had the perfect family, the husband, the 3 kids, living in the suburbs, working, as a nurse. My husband owned his business. We belonged to the country club. I thought I had, everything. My husband's sister had passed away and died, and she was 42. She died suddenly of a brain aneurysm, and that kind of changed everything for my husband. It was probably over a 3-year period. He started using drugs. First it was Percocets, Oxycontin, Vicodin, things like that. I mean, he owned his own business, so he had plenty of money. He was the normal father, baseball coach. I mean, he was a great dad to the kids and a good husband. One day I'd come home and our boat was gone and a car was gone, and I had no idea where all these things were going. He still was working, had a business. So it was all those little things that I was noticing, but I couldn't put my finger on it, and I didn't want to put my finger on it. I thought something was wrong with our marriage. And so we went to marriage counseling, and the counselor said, there's nothing wrong with your marriage. She looked at me and she said, your husband's a drug addict. Don't know how she knew. I didn't know he used heroin. I came home and I gave him an ultimatum. You've got to go. We have kids. Either you get in treatment or you're out of here. And then it got to the point where it was the fighting and the screaming in the house, and the kids were being affected. And we would be coming home from a soccer game and we'd be driving up the street and he would pass out in the car with his coffee spilled everywhere, and I'd have kids in the back seat, and I would be so embarrassed, and my daughter would be just embarrassed as heck, or he couldn't get off the couch to go to a soccer game, to a person that never missed anything that his children did. He was there for everything, and then he couldn't get off the couch to go to a game or those kind of things. And then when I found out it was heroin, I looked at him and I just was like, what do you mean you're using heroin? I mean, I would have I never imagined it was heroin. Trying to hide it from everyone, because do you think anybody was going to know that your husband's a drug addict? That would be like, you'd be in Westerville, you'd be put out, 13 years ago. They'd think you were like crazy. I took his name off of everything you can imagine because I was so afraid. He would take the speaker systems off the walls, he would pawn them, his golf clubs would be gone. So all of these things, in this period of time, I'm like, oh my God, what in the heck, So then he goes to this place in Antigua, and he come home in May of 2003. And I just said, okay, that's it. We're shutting this house down, locking it in, and you're not leaving the house. Nobody's leaving. He went to NA meetings. He saw a psychiatrist. He did whatever he was supposed to, but I thought if I locked him in the house, he couldn't use. And I just went to work. And then on November 21st, I got up for work and I said goodbye and kissed him and said, I love you, I'm going to work. And he called me at noon that day and said, I'm not feeling well. Okay. I said, I'll be home, in a little while. And I get a call at 2 o'clock from Chelsea. And she said, I can't get in the house, and Dad's on the kitchen floor. And I said, go to the neighbors. My friend lived right around back. I said, go to the neighbors, call 911, because she couldn't get in the house, thank God, because she would have seen, her dad he was already dead. He had overdosed. He didn't have a car, he had no money, but it didn't matter because the neighbor watched the white Cadillac pull up and a gentleman get out and drop off drugs here. So, and I told everybody that he died of a heart attack. Even my kids. I told the whole world that he died of a heart attack. I mean, I didn't tell anybody that he died of a heroin overdose until last November. But I was embarrassed and mortified and what people would think of us, and I didn't want my kids to they had already been through enough to go from having a normal family to a dad that's a heroin addict, and they didn't understand why their life was being torn to shreds. And it was torn to shreds. But, so then he died that day.
After Patrick's death in 2003, Lisa tried to move on. She met and married Long Island native Frank Ciambra in 2009. Frank, a recovering addict himself, has been clean and sober for more than 30 years. Lisa discovered in 2014 that her son was using drugs.
And I didn't think any of my children would use heroin, but out of the 3 of them, we have 1, you know. And so when I found out it was heroin, it's because I found syringes in the house. And I didn't want my kid to die. And then it got really bad because I told Frank, and I was hysterical when I found out. I was losing it. Like, I thought they were going to take me away in a straitjacket.
The end result was that he's sober now and that he's in sober living. And so my final approach was that, and he would not respond well to anger. So I needed to find out what he would respond well to. And he responded more like anybody else. He responded better to encouragement and to know that I really loved him. And I had to reach him in that kind of way.